Thank you, media, for coming in. Today was very historic. Our first JSB after the referendum, and for the Honorable Ishamael Toroama, President of Bougainville, his first JSB since assuming presidency, and I must admit he did exceptionally well. He knew what he wanted for Bougainville. His agenda was fixed. He came in. Our agenda is of course fixed. In fact, we are shaped by the commitment for peace in the 2001 peace agreement, and that was outlaid before our time. In fact, he was a signatory in his own capacity as leader back then. Today, we presided over this important JSB, first one after the referendum. And the referendum gave us the occasion to stage this JSB in the manner in which it was staged, moving it towards the way JSB is supposed to be held, based on the spirit of our 2001 peace agreement. I am totally satisfied that President Arawa and myself, in front of the ministers and members of parliament, both parliaments, both national parliament as well as Bougainville, we were able to successfully conclude a very, very successful JSB meeting. There were over 9 agendas in our discussions. First and foremost was the issue on post-referendum joint intergovernment consultation process. And this one, let me assure our people of Papua New Guinea, more especially our people in Bougainville, this now sets the next phase of work after referendum, knowing very well the monumental landmark in as far as referendum result is concerned, that over 97%, in fact, averaging 98% of Bougainville voted for independence. This is something the rest of PNG cannot ignore. But following in the spirit of our 2001 peace agreement, we now engage in this JSB to ensure consultation is now moved forward, and through those consultation processes, we will clearly put forward a path towards bringing the matter into Parliament at the moment the consultation process is completed. And let me appreciate the maturity over the discussion table. President Ishamael Toroama, whilst maintaining his view in as far as what this process meant for Bougainville, and as far as independence is concerned, he advocated Bougainville's interest within the context of the 2001 peace agreement, and that is respecting that consultation will take place, and that is also respecting that the national parliament will have the final say in as far as ratification is concerned. And so those core issues were concluded. We now have tasked our technical working committee to sit, in fact the joint technical team to sit and to work things through. We've agreed that there will be 3 or 4 JSBs this year, depending on the agendas that is necessary to be progressed. But those potential JSBs will be basically dependent on the work of our technical committee. And today, in this meeting also, we clearly outlaid some outstanding issues that would have been addressed 10 years ago, 5 years ago, 2 years, 3 years ago. We would have addressed, in fact, in 2020, some of these issues, but COVID-19, as well as politics, Waigani got in the way, and our JSB was delayed, and activities were delayed into this JSB. And we now have tasked our technical working committee, for instance, to ensure there is a Bougainville Economic and Investment Summit that should take place sometimes before the first half of this year. We're working to ensure that full shares of Bougainville Copper Limited that is already been agreed will now be transferred to Bougainville Mining Company. We've also agreed that fisheries and also forestry, that was not explicitly mentioned in this JSB, but fisheries, forestry, and all other revenue-making measures that Bougainville must have be fully detached and transferred, and fisheries was a sector that we discussed in great length today. I, on record, place my great appreciation to current Fisheries Minister, Dr. Lino Tom, who is working very, very hard to ensure our intention of government to transfer and empower Bougainville government in the harvest of the fisheries resource is taking place at the very earliest, and forestry and others will follow in the same precedent. We also discussed on tax and tax collection and tax distribution formula. We've now reversed by this discussion what is already entrenched in the Bougainville Peace Agreement. We've now discussed a possibility of reversing the formula. We passed 30% to Wangari for distribution back to Bougainville and rest of the country, and Bougainville will keep 70% of the taxes that are generated in Bougainville. For me, I am satisfied with this arrangement. It's complementary to my view in life that when you want to decentralize and empower a sub-national government or a specific region, in this instance Bougainville, you must also empower with revenue-raising mechanisms and power. And we've now, in this JSB, changed the formula. 70% is kept here, and 30% is sent to Wangari for national budget purposes. And this is, in my view, a small but milestone achievement that complements our view for economic independence and empowering regional governments, sub-national governments, and in this instance, Bougainville as a spatial government in our country, a spatial region, is now fully exercising this view in life. My government has of empowering people, empowering government, and I thank President Toroama for, without fear or favor, raising his people's view that this must be revisited, and we submitted to this call because it is a call in the right place, empowering government closer, for their revenues to be collected, kept here, and for them to also dispense service delivery to their people. We also discussed on our commitment to quarantine 10% of our national government fund for SME intervention funds. Our intention to incubate SME growth right across our country. 10% of this fund will be quarantined, funneled through both National Development Bank and BSB as we dispense with the funding for intervention or supporting SMEs to grow throughout our country. And for Bougainville region, this intention will mature as we come back for the SME Summit and Investment Summit we will have here in May of this year. We also discussed on the foreign missions officers who will be operating here. There was clarity around this in my conversation with the Bougainville government. We are in the business of fully empowering them in all aspects, but we've retained foreign functions, we've retained defense force functions, we've retained currency, and the flag will fly together, as I did ask Bougainvillians when we arrived on 13th of September in 2019 to receive the results of the referendum. They've honored us, they've reciprocated respect, but with the foreign mission, I've allowed for, through discussion with our cabinet, allowed for development officers to be stationed in Bougainville. There's a need for intervention in development aid and assistance. And Bougainville will have development officers in Bougainville. And at this juncture, I thank all our heads of missions who are here with us. I note the presence of Australia government and the local Australian mission in PNG. I note the presence of United Kingdom, here represented by the High Commissioner. I note Solomon Islands High Commissioner. I also note United Nations Ambassador, who is also here. European Union also here. You are very much welcome to establish development aid offices here, but will be coordinated through a specific desk we will set in our Foreign Affairs Department, and with those who assist, facilitate Bougainvilleans' need to interface with bilateral partners. There were also specific mention in the fact that foreign relationships will be conducted within decorum and within the order of our bilateral partners. The national government has to respect the bilaterals we we have the nations that have enjoyed, PNG have enjoyed bilateral partnership with. Our 8th agenda, we also discuss on our financial obligations to Bougainville. Much of our discussions anchored on commitments the Bougainville 2001 peace agreement entails. They were outstanding of 621 million kina. The restoration development grant that was much outstanding for the last 18 or 19 or so years. This JSB affirmed without any shadow of doubt the 621 million kina. That figure was affirmed by an independent United Nations assessor who assessed that this is actually the amount that property government owes to Bougainville in as far as its commitment to 2001 peace agreement is concerned. This JSB affirmed that that is so, and that is different from the 100 million kina per year commitment national government made in 2019 for key Bougainville infrastructures that we will deliver from 2020 going on to 2030. And those clarities were also reached in this JSB. For this, I commend President and his ministers and my ministers also for understanding that money is not important. The need to bridge the emotional divide, the spiritual divide, the social divide is far more greater. It needs to take place in a region that is flourished with enabling infrastructure that supports Bougainville to be better and grow into the future. So in the context, we made clarity on the 100 million a year commitment by national government for key infrastructures going forward until 20. We also affirmed that at the very earliest, the outstanding 621 million kina RBG would be reimbursed back to Bougainville, and there was an indication, a recommendation for Bougainville of a possibility of seeking a sovereign guarantee for a loan in that context, and thus our Treasury and Bougainville Treasury to work hand in hand to ensure we find an appropriate mechanism to replenish what has been outstanding since 2001. We've also established that, in conclusion, that next steps are important. Consultation process will run, and we will not delay the next step in as far as 2001 peace agreement is concerned. The work will run and then culminate with the intention to have 3 or 4 JSBs this year, and our technical officers will be working on the go since today until we've reached some of those outstanding commitments that we've had with them since 2001. Mr. President, you did extremely well today. Since it's your first JSB, you came in knowing what to do for his people, for our people, and I am satisfied to reach a point in time both Bougainville and PNG are made sure about what is in front. Referendum result is there. Parliament, National Parliament, the ratification process is left to be done with. We hope before Parliament has a handle on this matter, our precursor activities take place, and we retire some of our commitments we intend to do for Bougainville and for each other until we progress to the next stage, meaning Parliament has a handle on this one whenever the time is, as per our consultation rounds. Thank you very much, Mr. President. That's all I have to say. I hope I summarized everything we discussed today. Your floor now to address the meeting.
Thank you so much, Prime Minister. On behalf of my government and my people, that has been the ongoing head-up. On the pre-JSB, I made a statement stating that I will not go over the issues of a drawdown of powers. For the last 20 years, it has been the Bougainville spirit. The Bougainville peace agreement reflects the Bougainville spirit and the people of Papua New Guinea, government of Papua New Guinea. So today, Prime Minister, you have truly embraced the spirit of the Bougainville peace agreement that was signed in 2021, and I really like to say it's an honorable moment. At the same time, it is a time that we have made task for ourselves on behalf of the people and my government, how we can totally work together in reaching that understanding together. And this is my first JSB as Honorable Prime Minister you mentioned. I just really wanted to go on the points that that has been reflected for the last 20 years, which is the drawdown of powers. And today we reached a understanding, a joint agreement, and that is I'm really pleased on your leadership, the quality leadership that you have made into understanding the Bougainville Peace Agreement and the people of Bougainville. So on behalf of my government and the people, thank you so much, Honorable Prime Minister. This is one of these first steps forward that we have taken, and there is another big challenge that is coming ahead. And with trust and confidence that we have built in the last 24 years, it's progressing quite well. And I'm solely and I'm confident whatever happens on the outcome of the consultation will reflect the joint efforts that we have stated together. Thank you so much.